Hello, everyone. We hope this finds you well. Today, I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing someone whom I have come to know during my short time here at BCC, at Bronx Community College. And she's just an amazing person, someone that I'm very happy to have met, someone who has touched my life as well as the life of many, many, many people across the Bronx Community College community, or the Bronco community, as we would say. And again, it is just a privilege and an honor to interview Miss Leidy Pichardo. And I hope that during this interview, many individuals who have not had the opportunity to have known her, at least get to know a little bit of her through this interview. Hi, Miss Pichardo. Nice to have you here.
Hi, Nelson. This is an honor for me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Fantastic. So let's get started with the questions. At the time of this recording, you have been at Bronx Community College for nearly 10 years. For colleagues and students who may not be familiar with you and your work, can you provide us with some basic background information about yourself? For example, the department where you work, whether you teach, your discipline, years at BCC, etc.
Absolutely. I have been here at Bronx Community College, like you stated, Nelson. This January would have made 10 years. I started this role as the academic support manager for the college discovery program. But this position evolved into an associate director position. So for the past 6 years, I have been associate director of the program, in addition to my responsibilities as academic support manager. I also teach in the Department of Social Sciences. I've also taught, for the College Now program, Psychology 11, because I have 2 master's degrees, one in education and the other one in psychology. And teaching is also very much part of my passion. So I do love management and administration, but I also, love teaching, especially because for 10 years prior to coming here to BCC, I taught in the Board of Education. So I'm licensed in special education and bilingual education. And I was also an interim assistant principal for 4 years at an elementary school. So having that skill set of administration, but also pedagogy and teaching, just inspired me to continue teaching here as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. In what ways have you been able to serve the BCC Bronco community while working in the BCC College Discovery Program? And what has been your role in this department?
I want to say that the biggest way I have served in this role here in CD has been primarily providing academic support for our students, enrolling them in our learning community clusters. Those are 2 courses where the professors, they plan together, they assess together, they combine projects, the students are in both classes. So it's almost like a cohort model. That has been fantastic, specifically for our first-time freshman students. Our summer program, College Discovery and Seek at the 4-year, we are known for our summer pre-college experience for our students. So being very much involved with providing workshops, such as academic integrity, what to expect when you're transitioning to college during your first year, and setting students up for success for their first year has also been very key to my role here. But I also hire, I manage, and I supervise the day-to-day roles and responsibilities of the adjuncts that we have here working with us in the various disciplines, as well as the tutors in the program as well.
Thank you. What would you say have been your 2 or 3 biggest accomplishments and or most rewarding experiences here at BCC?
That's a good question.
Take your time.
I'm thinking in terms of my role, of my day-to-day role versus the different hats that I wear. Because not only in my day-to-day am I a full-time, manager, where I manage staff, but I'm also, as we will discuss later, the president, the chairperson of the Association for Latino Faculty and Staff. So there are definite highlights. But if first I'm going to tackle this role because I know we'll speak about that in a little bit. But in my role, two of the things that I am mostly proud of is number one, having been selected as co-chair of our last Middle States Steering Committee for standard number 7. That was my first time in that capacity and learning about the whole Middle States reaccreditation process, what the standards for higher education are when it comes to, regional accreditation. So that was an eye-opener for me, but it also gave me the opportunity to learn about the different areas of the college in a more meaningful way. So that was, I felt very accomplished professionally to even be included in that network of colleagues that involved senior staff and senior faculty from all over the campus. Another big accomplishment that we were able to have during the pandemic, to be honest, as academic support manager, was we held a virtual tutor conference. We had over 125 tutors participate CUNY-wide from college discovery programs, SEEK programs at our senior colleges, and even private colleges like Columbia and Fordham University. And that was amazing. Just putting that together virtually was a challenge, especially during the pandemic. But this is something that was very close and near to my heart. I did that collaboratively with Dr. Jay Juchter and Jan Robertson. We developed a planning committee, had proposals, the whole 9. IT was amazing in creating the Zoom rooms for us. So just on a professional level, to have been able to put it together, have a guest speaker, have a full day of workshops virtually with such great attendance without food being involved was truly, truly a big, big, big accomplishment, which I really feel very proud of.
Wow, thank you. I will be honest with you and have to say that in knowing you, your list of accomplishments could be extremely long. It is extremely long, so we could just spend the entire interview just on that. So thank you for putting it so succinctly, and we will touch upon a few more accomplishments in a few minutes, as you just pointed out. However, a question that I think is just as important is, if you are comfortable sharing, can you please discuss with us what has been perhaps your biggest challenges or some of your biggest challenges here at Bronx Community College?
Honestly speaking, one of the biggest challenges here, aside from the obvious, things that we are encountering as a community, which is our low enrollment, especially after the pandemic, from the academic perspective, is how unbelievably underprepared our students are coming from high school. Is really shocking. The limited writing abilities, the limited critical analysis and critical thinking abilities. And honestly, during the past 4 years, I would say even before the pandemic, it's been at an all-time decline. So it's getting more and more challenging. We're having so many students with learning disabilities more than ever before. And these are challenges that we're encountering at the support services level, but also in the classroom, because teaching psychology, I see it with my students all the time. So that's at that academic level. But I think in a systemic level, one of the biggest challenges that I have seen is the lack of professional development for managers, staff. It seems that faculty have a lot more opportunities, not as much, but they do have more targeted opportunities to grow and develop professionally in their research, in their pedagogy, in their teaching style. Whereas the staff, non-academic side of the house, not so much. And that is something that we crave and we do need. I do know that CUNY has like a menu of PD, but they're not really largely advertised. So I think that there is a disconnect there that my colleagues and I speak about often, and that I do hope changes, in the near future. But it's really been pretty non-existent for, and I'm speaking from my experience, for the past 2 to 3 years.
No, you are correct, and it's something that's it's how to manage that, and you are correct. As faculty, I'm privileged to be in a position as a faculty member, and you are correct. Whether it is CUNY wide or campus wide or just outside, just nationally, there are just so many professional development opportunities for faculty, ranging from fellowships to grants, etc. Just for being a member of a community college, a Hispanic serving institution, there are opportunities that are available there for us as members of the faculty. And even when there are opportunities available to most people, for instance, as a recent grant that just took place, for example, typically faculty are favored. There is a sort of this preference toward faculty, and it is a serious discussion that we must have. And I think that with our next question, we kind of might be leaning a little bit toward it. But yes, thank you for bringing attention to this and for being that luchadora that um, is there, is creating these conversations, is bringing people together, and so forth. But you have a master's degree at present time, and I believe you mentioned that you have two masters, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you. And at the moment, you're also pursuing a doctoral degree. What led you to pursue the disciplines in which you have enrolled in graduate studies?
Thank you for that question, Nelson. Well, I always had a dichotomy and a struggle thinking if I wanted to go the full faculty route or if I wanted to stay in leadership and administration. And as this role has evolved, and also as my duties and responsibilities have evolved as chair of the association, it has come, I guess, to me as a confirmation that my biggest passion or my strongest passion, while I love teaching, is managing people and working to develop others. And if there is just one word that describes me as a leader, it is definitely very empathetic towards others. I enjoy developing others and seeing others grow. I love providing professional opportunities and professional development opportunities for my staff. So I meet with my staff monthly. I don't know who else does that around campus, and they're part-timers. But, if we think about our strategic plan, one of the goals in our strategic plan is to really develop faculty and teaching excellence. So I consider my tutor staff, even though they're part-timers, as teachers, because that is exactly what they are doing. So for me, it has been a priority to instill in them that professional growth, to continue learning, to continue sharpening their tools, as I have been able to learn throughout the years. So when pursuing my doctorate in education, I am doing an EDD through North Central University. And actually in my interview and conversation with the admissions team, they said to me, I think that because of your experience and because of what you would like to do, the best fit for you would be, a doctorate in higher education leadership and, in higher education administration. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I think absolutely that's really at the core of what I do and at the heart of what I do. And hence that really was what sparked and initiated that conversation for me to pursue my doctorate in higher education administration and leadership.
Wow, thank you for this. And I do want to say, it's thank you for sharing. It's different to hear it from you, but a lot of what you just mentioned, I have seen it in action. Well, many of us here at BCC have seen it in action through ALFS, the Association for Latino Faculty and Staff. For instance, just the way that you do things, that caring nature, that being empathetic, understanding that sometimes people go through certain things, just how you go above and beyond for our students to ensure that there is funding for our students, for example, through the awards that are made available, and just that energy that you bring, and it's just very contagious. It goes from you through your colleagues and the students, and it's just amazing. So thank you. Let me just go on to the next question. Sorry. You what I mean, you kind of touched upon this in the previous question, but more specifically, what led you to study higher education or a doctoral degree in education?
Well, this ties into my professional and career goals. So professionally, I do see myself becoming a vice president of a college, either a community college or a senior college in the future. And who knows, maybe a Latina president. I do love leadership. I do love administration. I started, back in the DOE. So even when I was in the DOE, I knew that I was going to become principal. It's something that has been in my heart for a very long time. So I knew that eventually I was going to get my doctoral degree, but what really lightened that fire was actually the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were home. We really weren't doing much, just zooming in, zooming out, going from virtual meeting to another. And my husband actually tells me one day, this would be the perfect opportunity for you to start your doctoral degree because you don't have to commute, you don't have to leave the house. You're here, you might as well spend the time wisely. And this was really at the onset. The pandemic hit us in March, we closed on in March, and I literally applied basically at that point in time, and I get a call from the admissions at North Central University in June, and I started my classes in July. And previously, I had applied to other universities, and I had got denied. And I have 4.0s with my master's degree, so I couldn't really understand why I got rejected, but now I do. And it's because I do believe in timing. And I think that it was the perfect time. And I haven't stopped ever since. And I'm proud to share with you that in May 2023, I will be done with my dissertation, never took a break. So 2.5 years, almost 3, and I will be completely done with my doctorate degree. So that's a big accomplishment, being a busy mom of 3. I have 3, I have a 15-year-old who is a 16-year-old, a junior in high school, a 13-year-old in middle school, and a 7-year-old son, my Andy. So I'm teaching and doing this and full time, and then going to school is no easy feat. But I have a drive and I have a passion, and my motto that I learned as a teacher, I had a fantastic mentor. Her name was Miss Iris Lynn, my first principal. She was the one who hired me. And I remember that very first year when I became a teacher, she bought a book for the whole entire teaching staff, and we did a literature circle around it. And the book is titled, Failure is Not an Option. And I was a young girl, 24 years old, and I have made that my life motto. Failure is not an option. That is not part of my vocabulary. Yes, we can. ¿Qué hay que hacer para hacerlo? What do we have to do to get there? I have a mom, who was in the welfare system, food stamps. I saw her struggle, work around the clock with 4 kids. And she paved the way for us. And I said, if my mom could do it with 4 kids, and now to see her as an entrepreneur later on in life, having her own salon, beauty salon, and doing everything that she's doing, I said, okay, see, if mommy can do it, knowing almost nothing of English, then what there is to stop me. So I really do believe in that. So in essence, that is exactly what led me to embark in this doctoral degree journey at this point in time.
Thank you for sharing so much. There are just so many little nuggets there, right? Such as you being a leader, but also enjoying it. You interacting with our students from your personal experience and drawing upon that. And I think this is one of the reasons why, you're just able to help so many students. And I think when people see you, they interact with you, they know that you're genuine, right?
Thank you.
It's being that empathetic, but also having your personal experience and ensuring people yo vengo de aquí y yo lo hice y
That's
tú
right.
también, you know, so it's just amazing, amazing. Wow, it's just thinking about this is going to be a huge loss for BCC. That's what I will say. But let's continue to the next question. Um, and this one might be a little bit more sensitive. I know as scholars tend to be very careful, celosos, celosas con sus investigación. So you do not need to answer, and we can go to the next one. But unless it will jeopardize your dissertation, in which case you should not discuss it at all. Can you briefly share with us what problem or issue you expect to address in your dissertation, which you just stated you should be over with it in 2023?
Absolutely, absolutely. As in my role of academic support manager, one thing that has always boggled my mind is how is it possible, or what is happening specifically with our first generation Latino students? What challenges, what barriers are there that discourage them from seeking voluntary academic support? Why is it that they are able to perhaps engage in some level of support in the classroom, but when they leave the classroom, it is so difficult for them to actually engage and participate in these programs and services that are free to our students? So is it access? Is it availability? I want to understand, I want to better understand our first generation Latino students' perspectives. So I am conducting a phenomenology study to better understand the challenges and factors, that may arise. So I'm really taking a deep dive look at the literature that is out there. I'm right now in the process of finalizing my literature review, and a lot of eye-opening stuff, but there's still a lot to uncover, because while there is a lot of knowns, there's still a lot of unknowns. So, really listening to the student stories, in essence, to see how my study can inform administration and leadership on what else could we do that maybe we haven't thought of to better serve our community.
Wow, fantastic. You're what a scholar. I mean, right, that's what the dissertation is about, trying to um, address a problem. So thank
Absolutely.
you for sharing. Um, now, the next question is they're kind of a series of questions. So I will ask them one by one, but at BCC, you have been a member of several student-centered initiatives, as well as some that have benefited faculty and staff here at BCC. One of these initiatives is the Association of Latino Faculty and Staff, ALFS. And I have a few questions with regard to the association, but the first one is, why did you involve yourself with the ALFS? Did someone pull you in?
Yes. What a lot of people don't know is that I actually started my professional career here at Bronx Community College back in 2001. Right after college, right after I graduated from Fordham University, I was given the opportunity to be the assistant director of student life through our previous president, Dr. Brenda Scranton, who passed away due to cancer. And during that time, two colleagues actually begun the chartering process for this organization, and that was Dr. Nelson Reynoso, who is a faculty full professor in the social sciences department, because at that time he was just almost about to finish his dissertation on Dominican student retention, and also his colleague and friend Orlando Lopez, who at that time, if I'm not mistaken, was the director of financial aid. So they had done something similar at City College, and they felt that it was timely and needed to begin an organization here. So that's really how I got involved. They spoke about it. They were like, "Oh, Leidy, can we actually charter?" And since I was already part of student life, I knew what the chartering process looked like, and we were able to get the buy-in from faculty. We started with just 10 members, just spreading the word, and it was a very small committee, which has over the years grown to what it is that we know today.
Wow, thank you for explaining. Um, what impact has your work as a member of the association and member of the cabinet had on the overall BCC community?
I would say, looking back, especially the past 10 years, it has made an enormous impact. One of the things that we do traditionally is that we adopt a classroom in the in the Child Development Center here at BCC. So every year, we are very involved with them and their Christmas celebrations for their children. We have really involved the entire college community, especially at times of adversity. One of them being the Puerto Rico relief that we did with Hurricane Maria. And our efforts with the assistance of the president's office and departments, we were able to accomplish, and this goes back to the earlier question of accomplishments. In a matter of months, we were able to secure a donation of over 5,000 non-perishable goods and items that were shipped to Puerto Rico to communities of need. So when we saw how people were backing up and supporting this effort, it wasn't only members of the association. This involved, areas of the entire Bronx Community College. And that was just so amazing to see, because we did not even expect for that level of support. But really, people have seen that we are really about developing others. Launching our mentoring program was huge during the past 3 years through the leadership of my chairperson of that committee, of the committee of faculty and professional development by Dr. Crystal Rodriguez, really getting that off the ground. Because again, as I said before, professional development is really not something that is really available. So having that mentoring program through the association really opened doors for people who are not even members of the association to volunteer to even be mentors. We have chairs being mentors. We have deans being mentors. You don't hear that from other, colleges at all, that we have such a support from our administration and from the cabinet. It's just mind blowing. And I cannot say enough about the exponential growth of our scholarships. Oh my God. We started with 3, and really it was 1 divided into 3. It was just, we used to only do the Outstanding Student of the Year award. That's it. To those students who were graduating, Latino students graduating with a GPA of 3.0 and above, that's it. We gave a first, second, and third place. And little by little, we have gotten donations and sponsorship from faculty, from staff, from administrators, establishing scholarships. And today we have 13. And it runs the gamut. So it's not only now just for Latino graduating students, but the criteria have like exploded to meet even our DACA students, to meet students in the nursing field, students, also our adult population through the William Cost Scholarship, for example, is a perfect one, where she was inspired by her father, and her scholarship specifically awards a student who has decided to come back to school after the age of 30. So just to see how, that seed has grown and will continue to grow, has been amazing. This past year, that is a big highlight. We awarded almost $8,000 in scholarships, all for students. So that really talks about the impact in the overall BCC community, which I know the ALFS will continue to have.
There is just so much that you touched upon there. For example, looks can be deceiving sometimes. Sometimes, you can hear someone say, oh, this faculty member, this staff member, they're not active. And yet what I found through the association is that people want to help, right? So sometimes people may make these assumptions about a colleague, And if someone like you comes around and tells me, hey, you want to be a part of this initiative, they integrate themselves. They're willing, they want to help whatever way they can, but they just need someone to reach out to them. And I've seen that through you, through Lucci, through Gloria, for example, just bringing in people, and people, they see the work that's being done, and it's almost like you kind of feel guilty. No, let me be a part of this, maybe make pay my membership fee, but make an additional donation, for example, or let me help with this event, like the Hurricane Maria relief for Puerto Rico, for example, as you noted. And it's just a really, really beautiful association. I've, normally you see this in nonprofits, but I have not seen it at this level. And so a question that just, comes in my mind, do you plan on launching an ALFS at your new institution?
I hope so. I really, really do hope so. And I think it's very possible. Given the fact that the institution last year was awarded HSI designation because they have a 30% Latino student population. And as we know, we only need 25% to be given that federal designation, which they are. So I am very excited to learn about my new colleagues and see what the potential is there. But I do have a feeling that I will be utilizing, these experiences and definitely, my leadership involvement here to hopefully start a chapter there. So that is something that it is actually at the forefront of my mind.
Fantastic. Wow. No, it's just, the work is just amazing. I do not want to keep you too much longer, but I do have another question. There is another of your accomplishments that just took place. The first annual Latinas in Higher Education Conference took place on Friday, September 30th, last month. We're about 2-3 weeks removed from it. Who conceptualized the idea for this conference? How and why did it come to be?
I conceptualized this idea back in March during Women's History Month, when we had a beautiful panel of Latina faculty just talking about their journey, talking about their scholarship, their research, and how did they even become a faculty member to begin with. And we wanted to listen to their stories. We had la doctora Marjorie Garrido, Marjeline Vizcarrondo, Dr. Melissa Cosaquino, and Dr. Barbara Flores Caballero. If you really pay attention, different disciplines, ages that run the gamut. So the intersectionality, cross-sectionally was beautiful. But there was one common denominator. And as I was listening to the stories, and this was virtually in Zoom, I got inspired. And I remember going to Professor Gloria Rodriguez right after we disconnected, and I said, we could do this bigger and better. This is amazing. So the first thing that I did was I want to look at the data. I'm very data-driven. So I seeked out the help of institutional research, and Jasenia Paoli, our Chief Diversity Officer, and actually her office gave me the breakdown of our Latino, faculty and staff, and oh boy, like, oh, there's underrepresentation, but you don't know that it's that bad until you see it in black and white in numbers. And that was all that we needed to ignite the process. And that was a validation that, yes, let's do this. And at first, in talking to the ALFS cabinet, it was, vamos a hacerlo just, to highlight and showcase the scholarship of our BCC faculty and staff. But then as the planning evolved, I said, you know what? Let's do this CUNY-wide. Let's open it up. And they were like, are you crazy? In 4 months, because it literally, we started planning end of April, beginning of May. End of April, yes. We started planning in April. And we were able to have everything in place, and I have to say it is truly, truly, and will forever be one of my proudest moments as a professional, as a woman, as a Latina, Dominicana, to be able to put this gorgeous and beautiful conference together. And I'll share with you that until today, Nelson, I'm receiving email from people, particularly faculty and staff at other CUNY colleges and outside of CUNY, that have found the link and saw the postings and advertisements through my LinkedIn and are emailing me, telling me that they want to be in the listserv for next year because they want to participate next year. So mira que cosa, you know, like it's still making effect 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you know, and we've been published already in 2 articles in Diversity Education and Be Latina. So that was unprecedented. And this week, we are getting recognized by the Bronx Borough President's Office for our work in our community. You know, the Association for Latino Faculty and Staff have come such a long way, and I couldn't be prouder. And I know that under, you know, the continued cabinet and under the leadership of Lucci and the rest of you guys, I have no doubt that we're going to continue making strides and continue paving the way for others that are going to come later, before, you know, after us. But yeah, and I do hope that this conference, we're already talking about potential dates for next year. So yes, we're hoping to continue this fantastic event next year and hopefully doing it bigger and better. Because now we know that we can do it in just such a short period of time. So if we give ourselves double that time, without a doubt, it'll be bigger and better and much more effective. So thank you.
You know, it was just amazing. This is a case study, just how quickly you did it. You know, from March, there are people, I'm involved in conference planning, and we're, you know, typically a year, 2 years in advance, you know, the planning. So it was just amazing. It was phenomenal. Just everything, the way everything was done. It was just perfect. You will leave an indelible legacy at Bronx Community College and the City University of New York, right? Who knows? Maybe perhaps in the future you will return, but we'll cross that, you know, when it comes.
No one knows.
But no one knows the future. But what message? And you've given so many nuggets, so much advice throughout this conversation. But I want to close with this final question. What message do you have for anyone listening to this interview?
Follow your passion. Don't allow, and I tell my students this all the time, do not allow others to tell your story. Tell your own story. When I was a junior in college at Fordham University undergraduate, I had the privilege of working as a camp counselor over the summer at Ramapo Anchorage Camp in upstate New York, which was a camp solely for children and adolescents in the autism spectrum and with varied learning disabilities. And one of the things that was core to the program was high ropes and low ropes challenges. And I remember, and I'm going to try not to cry, because I remember this one day I had to climb, because the counselors had to do the challenges first and then the children, so that we know what they were going to be experiencing. And I was a scared 18-year-old girl. And the biggest challenge for me was to climb a 40-foot tree. And at the top of the tree, there was a little block, un pedazo de madera. And you had to stand. You were valet, of course. There were the other counselors belaying you with the ropes. But you had to stand on that ledge, very small piece of wood, and you had to jump off the wood to grab onto the flag, and then they would belay you down. And I remember I froze, I paralyzed en ese bloque de madera. Me quedé completamente paralizada, como por 15 minutos. No me podía parar, no podía hacer nada. And I remember one of the counselors say from the bottom, Leidy, if you think you can or you think you can't, you are absolutely right. And she screamed that to me 3 times. And she said, just let go. Just let go. And when I heard those words, they became such a part of my life. No one knew what I was going through at that time. I had a very difficult adolescence. Very difficult adolescence. And it was my saving grace. That experience changed my whole outlook in life. And I stood up, I closed my eyes, I counted to like 20, and then I leaped. And they actually took a picture of me when I grabbed the flag. And that is to say, you're the only one who has the power to control what you can and cannot do. Nadie puede escribir tu historia. Nadie tiene el poder ni el control de decirte lo que tú puedes hacer y lo que tú no puedes hacer. Nadie. Entonces, ¿qué te detiene? ¿Qué te detiene? ¿Qué te está paralizando? What is paralyzing you? You can do it. Whatever you think, if you can do it, you'll do it. Pero si tú dices yo no puedo, ahí te va a quedar. Follow your passion. And people say it all the time, like a cliche, but you know what is really true? Adelante con lo que te apasiona, con lo que te mueve, con lo que te levanta todos los días en la mañana. That is so important, to get up every single day and fight for what passions you and what moves you every single morning. And I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, we'll continue on and on and on and on. You'll have me preach, Nelson. You'll have me preach up in here.
That is a beautiful, beautiful closing to this fantastic interview. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. This has been awesome. Thank you.
Well, you're awesome. So, gracias por todo, de todo corazón.